The Utah Mammoth complete an improbable comeback in last night's victory. We're going to talk about it right here and also how they just got done completing a near perfect homestand, what that means for them in the playoff hunt, and what they need to do now over the next couple of weeks to keep this momentum going. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. And boy, was that an exciting game that we had last night. I'm so excited to be covering it. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We are also 50 games into the season, a little bit over halfway. The Mammoth have hit an amazing stride, which I said it on our last channel, they needed to get done. So we'll talk about where they currently sit, not just in the playoff standings, but also in my projections on their pacing towards the playoffs and what maybe they need to do to keep this momentum going. But first, let's talk about last night's game. What a game. The Mammoth looked dead in the water. They started the whole first period looking like hot garbage. 30 seconds into the game, Cam York scores a goal, and they're already in that hole. Not doing a whole lot earlier. It only took about 4 more minutes before Philly scores again on a goal from Christian Dvorak, and it was just looking bad for the Mammoth. And you knew that, I mean, it being the Flyers, they're a semi-decent team, but not that great. The Mammoth should be able to handle them at home, so you felt like they were still in this game. They end the period on a penalty, though, so you're starting the second period, down one man already, and the Flyers capitalize on that with a power play goal from Bobby Brink. They're down 3-0. Things are looking a little bit dire. The Mammoth have had a great homestand, and they needed to still get these 2 points, but maybe you just thought that it was just going to be one of those nights. However, the Mammoth decided to turn it on. I mean, the next two goals that they scored was not just some fluky goals that came through. They were dominating the Flyers. They were dominating on the forecheck, on the back check. Anytime the Flyers tried to get the puck out of their defensive zone, the Mammoth were there taking it away, creating turnovers, and causing havoc. And the first goal from the Mammoth came at the 5:35 mark. It shows as unassisted, but really what really started it was with Cheeks getting in deep into the zone, almost scoring on his own tap in, but having it a little bit past behind the net. He keeps fighting and keeps poking that puck and trying to get it across the crease. It lands up in Peterka's stick, and he shoots it home and scores. 36 seconds later, we have a second goal by Lawson Krause. Amazing plays. Great play by Keller to get it deep, then passing it through center to Schmaltz, who then taps it over to Krause, and all of a sudden they're in a 1-goal game, and they had all of the momentum. The rest of the period, though, was pretty frustrating as the Mammoth were just getting penalty after penalty after penalty, just taking stupid penalties the entire time. In fact, they almost got a 5-minute major warning on Liam O'Brien, which I thought was, from the beginning, it was just a lame call, but I feel like they made a major penalty call so that way they could actually go and review it. Not only what did it end up not being a major, but it ended up not even being a penalty. Needless to say, though, it didn't really make much of a difference in all the rest of the second period. They really couldn't capitalize on that momentum. And then because of that, all of these power plays that were going on, Philadelphia actually ends up scoring another power play goal at the 10:28 mark by Dvorak again. And so all of that work, all of that effort to get within 1 goal, and now all of a sudden we're back to where we began at the start of the second period, heading into the third. However, the Mammoth would not give up. You could just sense that there was still a sense of composure with this team, a sense of confidence that they knew that they could come back. And that's what we saw. And with the right patience and with the right a little bit amount of luck to get on the power play again, The Mammoth end up scoring. Barrett Hayton puts it in the back of the net with an assist from Gunther and Nick Schmaltz at the 12:47 mark to bring it back within a 1-goal game. They continue to fight, put the pressure on, have a couple of serious chances. In fact, Vamelka also was having to play lights out in order to save a couple of great chances for the Flyers to put it away. And then the the basically the play of the game was not even really the next goals that came. Those were all obviously amazing, but uh, Philadelphia had a empty net, and they were had almost the guy. I don't know what the guy was doing. I don't know his name, but he was skating, and he could have easily just shot it and ended the game. I don't know if he just couldn't quite corral it, so he took a few too many steps and waited until he had the perfect moment. But Schmaltz comes out of nowhere, lifts the stick, and is able to back check and poke it away from him. About 45 seconds later, they're fighting up on the boards in middle center ice, and Keller gets the puck into the offensive zone, skates around the boards, cuts across in the front, and scores with 35 seconds left in the period to tie the game. That is the Utah Mammoths' first ever goal with an extra man on the ice, and what a great time for it to come. These Mammoth know how to play the Flyers, or how to make it exciting when they play the Flyers at home. I was actually live at the game last year when Gunther scored with zero point 0.4 seconds in overtime to take home the victory, and now we were set up for another similar showing. We get into the overtime, and it's back and forth. Philadelphia, they possess the puck for a little bit. Mammoth, never really any super serious scoring chances until the puck gets shot around the boards on the Flyers' offensive zone. Gunther picks it up. He catches the Flyers in the middle of a shift, drives down to the left center of the offensive zone, and then sits there, waits for a little bit, waits for his teammate Keller to skate and get in a shooting range, passes it, and Keller again buries it in the back of the net to complete the miraculous comeback and a 5-4 overtime win. So this was an awesome game. It was exciting. I think this team is really hitting their stride, and yes, they've played a lot of home games and a lot of teams that they probably should be expecting to win, but in the previous season and in previous times in this year, you've seen these teams, or you've seen the Mammoth really not being able to put teams away, or you've seen them lose games like this. So this took a lot of character in order for them to steal back those 2 points from the Flyers. So let's take a look at where they currently stand. Right now, the Mammoth are showing as they have 56 points, which is good for the first wild card spot. They're still a few games back from the Wild in order to get into the third place in the Central Division, but they're still keeping a pretty good pace ahead of all of those other aggressive wild card teams. So they have to keep playing hot in order to keep up with some of these other hot teams going in as well. Okay, so I have shown you this my little spreadsheet here before about all of the schedule for the Utah Mammoth. So you can see here their results leading up to Game 50. So right now we have Game 50 in the books with them taking on the lead. You can see this awesome 7-game stretch or 8-game stretch if you count all the way to the Rangers overtime win back in New York. But you can see here that through my pacing, or let me just explain a little bit more about what you're looking at here. We have the game, we have the date. Can we freeze the top row so that way it's easier to see as we come down here? And let's go to this latest hot streak that have put the Mammoth back in playoff contention. You can see here that this really was an opportunity in which they needed to gather all of these points. the way I did this spreadsheet is I used the money puck percentages. So shout out to them to gather their odds of being able to win each game. And I figured that they're probably going to need at least 94 points to be safe in the playoffs. So I took the odds and I sorted them by the games they were most likely to win. And I put those as the games that they need to win in order to keep pace. So, as I've mentioned in some of my other games, some of these hot streaks were expected, like at the beginning. Some of them were a little unexpected. The little dip that they had in November, again, part of it was expected, half of it wasn't. But really, this start of the new year, if they really wanted to become a serious playoff contender, they had to come away with buckets of points during these first few weeks of January. The In fact, they actually ended up having one less than they needed to because of that overtime loss to Columbus. I don't want to complain too much about that. The fact that they were able to still get almost all of the other rest of the points, I still think that they're in a good spot. So, looking to Nashville, you can see that they need to get one in Nashville, or at least over the next 4 game uh, road trip. They're going to need to come away with at least 2 points, and that's doable. They can win 1 out of 4, but let's not freak out, Mammoth fans, if they go on this road trip and they have a really tough time. They're playing great teams. They're playing the Lightning, who are really hot right now, and then they on a back-to-back, they're going and playing Florida, and then they're also ending their road trip with Carolina. So their first game, the Nashville game, is their best chance to get those 2 points. But it's okay if that's all they end up getting. You can see here that the majority of their points are going to come in their home games, in which they have quite a bit of them left. If we look over here at the playoff pacing, you can see here the black line is the line in which I projected them to be on, and then the blue line is what they actually projected or what they actually performed. And so you can see here at the beginning when they won those few games that no one expected to them to win, they were actually ahead of pacing. Then they had that terrible end of November, early December. And so they were below a little bit, but they've slowly been creeping out, and then they have been maintaining what they need to do. So really, you can see that they still need to keep up the good work. There's still a pretty big road ahead of them. Nothing's guaranteed. I think right now Money Puck has them at, I think, roughly a 70% chance of making the playoffs. And you have to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. Whenever a team is playing hot, their odds are going to go up, as well as these odds of them being able to win these games. I update these odds per game, like against each team in the future games. I update the entire spreadsheet every 10 games. And so I ended up adjusting that today, and then, but 10 games ago, when they before this streak, a lot of these games were in the 40 percentages. So with the odds, they fluctuate a little bit based on performance, but there's really nothing that you can do about it. The cool thing about what the Mammoth are doing right now is they're doing this without one of their top players, Logan Cooley. We're hoping that he'll be able to come back, if not right before the Olympics. Maybe the Olympics, he'll be able to get just that much more healing, and he'll be able to come back for this final push, and they're going to need it. So I just wanted to show this to you, saying that, enjoy this, Mammoth fans. Enjoy that they are on this hot streak. But, again, let's not get too high. This is something that they needed to do to absolutely stay in contention. But don't get too low if over the next week, that we see them drop a few games. So that's all I got for this episode. Just wanted to talk about last night's game, as well as where they currently are, and saying that there's a lot to be excited about. And I'm hoping that this team can keep up the pace. But let me know what you thought. Did you watch the game yesterday? What were your thoughts? And also, how are you feeling right now about their chances of being able to keep that playoff spot and hopefully, for the first time in Mammoth history, be able to make the playoffs. Let me know in the comments, and if you like this content, feel free to like and subscribe, and we will check you out on the next video.